Well, good morning, and sharing with you, I'm so thankful for Bob as he's coming, and ask for your prayers. As soon as he comes up, I'm gonna be heading out to do this memorial for firefighter's family. And so just please be in prayer for them, myself, and I love you all. And so come on up. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Ross. I'm gonna have to ask you to come up and hold my Bible since I don't have a podium. I heard a cute story last night, and it was about two very famous people. One was extremely wealthy and one was not, but they were both famous. In fact, one was the author of a book, Catch 22, and this rich fellow said, you know what, I make more in a day than you ever made off of your book. And the fellow that wrote the book said, yes, but I have enough, and you never will. As Christians, good news, right? We don't need more and more and more and more. We have. I thought that was pretty cool. Made me feel guilty because I wanted more. So last week, Russ spoke. Am I out of it? I'm not even.
No, because it hasn't gone towards
Do I have to be? So last week, Russ spoke about experiences, people with experiences with God. Remember who the topic was, who we spoke about? The nice young man of many had the coat of many colors. And he expressed that man's life. He went from being the favorite son in a very large and successful family. Things are going good. What happened? His brothers were jealous. They took him out, threw him into a cistern. We're going to kill him. Decided not to. What's going through his mind? I didn't deserve this. What's happening? I'm not in control. That sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? I don't deserve this. I didn't do anything. I'm out of control. I don't know how to fix it. That's the perfect opportunity for us to do what? Shut up, sit down, and pray. Now, by praying, you're going to immediately solve the problems, right? He'll be miraculously rescued by an angel, and things will be just like, no. Well, it goes on, right? His life continues. He gets sold into slavery. Wow, that's a far stretch from where he was. He gets thrown into prison. Wow, that's not good. He gets presented to the most powerful man in the world. I'm not sure what's scarier, being thrown into prison or being in front of the Pharaoh. Pretty spooky stuff. Well, we all know how it ends. He ends up being in control of all of Egypt except for the Pharaoh. And how does it culminate? How does it end? His brothers come. The very folks that started this in his mind, this adventure. Now we know that there's maturity, that he gets it, because what does he say to his brothers? You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Here's a man who now is truly experienced, and that was the key, God. What does that experience do for the person? It makes them so much more sensitive to the rest of their lives. Okay, today I'd like to talk about or read the book of Ruth. So it's on page 365. And it's alphabetical, so you can actually, I'm going to talk to God about that. It would be so much easier, wouldn't it, if things were alphabetical? Well, they're not even quite chronological. They bounce around. about two primary people. We'll read about them. Obviously, one is Ruth. So I'm going to start. Ruth, chapter 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. And a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. That tells us a lot. One of the gorgeous things about the book of Ruth, it says a lot with few words. In the days when the judges ruled. That's significant. That's the time period, that's a time period when Israel was being very rebellious. They were being punished. They were lawless. It was a mess. That's why God sent judges. So the environment's very rebellious. They're in Bethlehem. And what did they decide to do? I got a great idea. Let's go to Moab. Well, it might have sounded like a good idea, except obviously they were leaving the area that God said, hey, this is your land. This is where I will dwell with you. Wow. They leave that area. They go to Moab. The significance of Moab is there was a prophet named Balaam, and a king of Moab, Balak, went to him and said, I want you to curse the Israelites. If you remember that story, it's really cute. Because in that process, he is on his way to curse. He's riding his donkey, and the donkey stops, and he beats the donkey, and the donkey tries to scrape him off on the way, and beats the donkey. Finally, the donkey turns to him and says, why are you beating me? The donkey's talking to him. It's cute. Which one is the donkey? And that was the significance of that issue, was that he was on his way to do something bad, prophesy against the Israelites for money. So God says, this is a significant event. Don't do that. Well, the Israelites find out about it. They don't like the Moabites because of their king, and they go in and they take over a couple of towns, and there's a conflict. I don't like you, you don't like me. Well, this is the very spot that these folks decide to be rebellious. I'm going to leave God, if you will, figuratively, and I'm going to go to the place that he doesn't like. 2 bad actions. Not looking good for these folks. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name, Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites. They lived in the neighborhood, from Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to Moab and lived there. Okay? Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. And she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women. One named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, this is talking about the family, not how long they were married. After the family lived there for 10 years, they were just married for a short period of time, the 2 boys. Both Mahlon and Chilion also died. And Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Okay, so if we go back 10 years, there was a famine because God was punishing, but God was also saying, do you trust me? They said, no, we don't. They left. What was the consequence of this poor decision? God says, I'm not done with you. I'm trying to get your attention so that you'll lean on me. You think you found an earthly solution? Watch this. Boom. Husband dead. Boom. Son's dead. What position does that leave Naomi? You're shaking your head. What happens in that culture? What's the consequence if you're a widower and you've got nothing? There is nothing. Remember, they left their place. They didn't have a nice place, but they left it. It's probably run down. They moved to a foreign country. They don't know, they can't do the food because she has no sons. All she has is $2 more. God is still working in her life. When she heard, while she was in Moab, that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, Naomi and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. Makes sense. She's in the middle of misery, and she's going, somebody just posted on the computer, the good news. There's going to be a great harvest. Things are better back home. What do you think is in her heart? Not her mind, but in her heart. Her mind says, if I have any hope, I need to go back to where the food is. But what's her heart saying? What is it not saying? Dear Lord, I messed up. Please forgive me. I'll head back home if you'll have. Don't read that, right? You read that the person is going, things are desperate. I don't know what to do. I'll make another earthly decision. Boom, boom, boom. Bad decision, bad decision. I'm not saying this was bad, but I'm saying it excludes God. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show kindness to you as you have shown to your dead and to me, your husbands, my husband. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. These are Moabite women. I would assume that they don't have a relationship with God like she does. She expresses what she knows. May the Lord bless you. I'm not sure how they would take that. They worshiped a different set of gods. But it is interesting that Naomi now starts to touch and reach back and go, that's where we need to turn. I'll tell you what, ladies, don't follow me. I'm in a mess. Go back home and may the Lord bless you. I like that. I thought that was pretty interesting. Then she kissed them, and they wept aloud and said to her, no, we will go back with you to your people. Again, a recognition that they aren't ours. But Naomi said, no, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? It makes no sense. I'm just going back to die. Am I going to have any more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, what would the hope for her be? A child. Even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters. It is more bitter for me than for you. Why is it more bitter for Naomi? She's older and alone. So she's going, there's no future for me. I have no hope. Well, shame on her, but that's a typical human perspective. This is written so we can go, I can identify with that. Now, what do I not want to do when things are looking lousy? I don't want to be the one that goes, you guys better leave because it's just a mess for me. I have no hope. She's says, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has gone out against me. I don't know why he's picking on me. It's not my fault.
Let's be sensitive now.
Yes, she's got a bad spot. Found herself in a tough spot. At this, they wept again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her.
Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her.
But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from me. Where you go, I will go.
Where you stay,
I will stay. Your people will be my people,
and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried.
May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything but death separates you and me.
When Naomi realized that Ruth was
Determined to go with her, she stopped urging.
What do you hear? Who is Ruth? She's a godless woman.
Not her fault. She's just from a culture that doesn't know God. And yet, what is she saying? Who does it sound like?
Sounds like Jesus to me. He says, hey,
I love you so much.
I'm going to commit everything to you.
I don't care that we don't have anything. I will give you what I do have. Pretty Christ-like. What's the significance of this Christ-likeness?
He displays it through a foreigner.
I find that super cool, right? God has said, you folks haven't been listening to me very well, you guys in Israel. I'm going to demonstrate for you, and I'm going to use this person.
I love where she says, your God will be my God,
And then she later on recognizes again as a personal God. May the Lord deal with me. How did she know about the Lord?
God had to call.
And say, I'm going to make myself known to you in the best way that you can comprehend, and beginning with this statement of, I'm going to do the right thing, no matter what it costs me.
So the two women went on
Until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, can this be Naomi? And Naomi says, don't call me Naomi, she told them. Call me Mara, which means bitter.
because the Almighty has made my life.
Very bitter. I went away full. Emphasis is I went away, but the Lord has brought me back empty. That sounds like my life. I think I'm in charge. I go away. I think I got it covered. He takes it all from me. And I come back in my words empty, when in reality I've just gotten rid of the extra junk. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, arriving at Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Now what we're talking about is, the purpose of this story is an individual relationship with God. And significance would be, at the lowest point, what hope does God continue to share upon it? They came back right at the exact time of the harvest. A little bit of, we often feel that life is outside of God's control. definition of control is that he's letting me go through this terrible thing and he hasn't fixed it yet. Okay, we often think that. What do we usually do? Well, we can thrash around and hope that we somehow help ourselves. Isn't that the truth? I won't acknowledge that I got myself into this mess, but I'm going to think somehow I'm going to get myself out of it. We can trust God, or we can trust God in spite of our circumstances. But thoughtfully, many of us resign to our circumstances and wait for God to make them better or worse. Do you believe in God? Yes, I do. What are you doing about it? Not much. Just waiting for him. You know, he's going to make it better or worse, and then we'll go from there. And I don't think that's what God has in mind. Let's continue to read on. Chapter 2. So they're back home. They went back to Naomi's old house. Imagine that it's pretty well broken down and nasty. They move in, they have no other choice. It says, now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side. This is information for the reader at first. She doesn't know this or plan for this. From the clan of Elimelech, a man of standing, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth, the Moabitess, said to Naomi, let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone whose eyes I find favor. What's this called? Gleaning. There's even the song we sing about gleaning. What's the process? In Israel at the time, Moses had said, okay, our program for helping out poor and people in need is that when you go out and harvest your field, and they would take the side and harvest and wrap the stuff up, there's going to be leftover grain. You just can't collect it all. And Moses said, leave that so that folks that want to help themselves can go out and glean it, pick it up. He didn't say clean it up for them and put it in piles for them. That's a criticism for today's system. He says, it's there, you can have it. So she says, hey Mom, I think the first thing we need to do is get some food on the table. The harvest is going on. I want your permission to go out and to start to glean. And let's hope it works out. And Naomi said to her, you're right. Go ahead, my daughter. So she went out and began to glean in the fields behind the harvesters. Several fields. I'll try that. Boom, goes. As it turned out, luck. No. As it turned out, she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz. And God has shared with us just earlier that Boaz is one of her relatives. She doesn't know that. Who was from the clan of Elimelech. Just then, while she's working, just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. The Lord be with you. Here's the owner of the property. He's out, he comes up, and he greets the people that are working for him. Yeah, that's a cool boss, isn't it? It gives us an idea of his heart. It says, the Lord be with you. Then he said to the foreman of the harvester, whose young woman is that? Well, isn't that a cool coincidence that God points this young lady out? He comes up, he's looking, and he knows most of the people, and he sees someone he doesn't recognize. So he goes to the farmer and he says, who's she? The farmer replied, she is the Moabitess who came back from Moab with Naomi. She said, please let me glean and gather among the sheaves. She came to me and asked permission behind the harvesters. She went into the field and has worked steadily from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. Whew! Probably a lot of hard work. So the guy's saying several things. Isn't it interesting, by the way? how everybody knows everything about everybody in a little small town. Boom, everybody knows who she is. And not only that, but they know the sacrifice that she made. This is a foreigner, this is a Moabite. We all don't like her, and yet she's willing to endure our nonsense while she's going out to glean. For whom? Her mother-in-law, who is one of us.
So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me.
Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here." That just sounds so much like God talking to us, like Christ saying, "Hey, I got this great plan for you. Don't go anywhere else, okay? Trust me." He says, "Stay here with my servant girls. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the girls. I have told the men not to touch you." We sometimes forget the risk that Ruth was placing herself under. A woman, young, in an area that she doesn't know. They don't like her. The probability that something bad would happen to her was extremely high, and yet she was willing to risk all of that. And here God is intervening and saying, "I'm going to protect you." Another check mark. Her hope goes, "Woo, look at that. Not only am I going to get enough food for today, but I'm not at risk." How suddenly gorgeous is that? And whenever you are thirsty, oh yeah, I didn't bring my six-pack with me. Go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled. Wow. And this, she said, "Yeah, I deserve it. I'm hot, I'm cool, this is great. About time." What does she do? At this, she bowed down with her face to the ground. She exclaimed, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. God knows all the things we do. How you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with the people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. May I continue to find favor in your eyes, my Lord," she said. "You have given me comfort and have spoken kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servant girls." Dear God, I don't deserve the blessing. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, this is probably an afternoon meal that same day. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, they're sitting down to eat. Boaz sees her over there, and he says, "Come over here." Again, inviting an outsider in. "Have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar." When she sat down with the harvesters, he offered her some roasted grain. "You won't even have to cook this. I've already done it for you. Take some of this." She ate all she wanted and had some left over. As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men. "Even if she gathers amongst the sheaves," okay, the sheaves, bundles, not supposed to touch those. You're supposed to just get what's on the ground. And he says, even if she does that, don't give her a bad time. She just doesn't understand. She doesn't get the system. Even if she gathers among the sheaves, don't embarrass her. Rather, pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up. And don't rebuke her. As we're maturing in Christ, how many times have we boogered up? And yet does God go, "Gotcha! Gotcha! 3 steps back." doesn't rebuke us. So Boaz says, even if she messes up, just
Love. So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then they worked all day long in the fields until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered. And it amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back to town. Her mother-in-law saw how much she had gathered. Ruth also brought out and gave her what she had left over after she had eaten enough. She brought out the cooked food. Her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? This is incredible. How did you do this? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Wow. Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one at whose place she had been working. The name of the man I worked for today was, oh yeah, Boaz. The Lord bless him, Naomi said to her daughter-in-law. He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead, she added. This man, by the way, that man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsman redeemers. Okay. What's that? What's a kinsman redeemer? Kinsman, relative, redeemer. In the society, the opportunity existed and it exists for us today for a relative to help you, to extend help. The significant difference was because Naomi was a widow and had no children, then the lineage was done. The concept back then was the Redeemer would not just help the family, but would marry the widow and have children so that the lineage could continue. It was meant as a very positive thing. It was a real rescue and a continuation of. By the way, it's not a rule or requirement. It was a practice. Then Ruth the Moabitess said, he even said to me, stay with my workers until they finish harvesting all my grain. Hey, it wasn't just a day. He says I can stay with them until they're done. Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it will be good for you, my daughter, to go with these girls because in someone else's field you might be harmed. Good wisdom. So Ruth stayed close to the servant girls of Boaz to glean until the barley and wheat harvests, two different crops, were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. She worked her off every day, came back home with the results. They were able to survive. Again, hope. Things were looking good. Chapter 3. One day, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, should I not try to find a home for you, where you will be well provided for? Okay, mom-in-law thing. She says, I need to get you a husband. We need to do more than just this program here. Don't worry about me. I now have a responsibility for you. Is not Boaz, with whose servant girls you have been, a kinsman of ours? And she goes on and she says, tonight, this is Naomi talking, tonight, he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash and perfume yourself and put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor and don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying, then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. That would be a good time for Ruth to go, you wacky people. That's nuts. That makes no sense. Why should I do that? Part of the societal program was, number one, Boaz this is his grain, this is his property, this is value. He's the owner. So he says, I'm there to supervise this process. Now, after supervising it and after we get the finished product, a big pile of ready-to-eat grain, ready-to-cook grain, do you think he's going to leave?
And have bad guys come in and steal it?
It was appropriate for the owner to sleep there with the grain until the next day when they could cart it out. So, mother-in-law says, this is what's going to happen. He's going to be there, he's going to work all day, he's going to sleep with the stuff until he can haul it away. Go, watch where he is, go, but don't make yourself known to him. And when he falls asleep, set yourself at his feet and uncover his feet.
Well, what's going to happen? The guy's sleeping, his feet are exposed, he gets cold.
What? What's going on? And he wakes up.
When he lies down, what's the place? When he lies down, okay, he will tell you what to do.
I will do whatever you say, says all of us to God. I will do whatever you say, Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man, and he turned and discovered a woman lying at his feet. By the way, remember, it's dark. You know, what's going on? That would be startling. Who are you? He asks. And she says, I am your servant, Ruth. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer.
She says, hey, cover me, protect me.
Take me under your wings, because you are relative. That tells him that he is a relative. That gives him that opportunity now to go, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's socially acceptable for me to consider this. And he says, the Lord bless you. Now, what do we know about the relationship between these two people? Ruth is young and apparently attractive. Boaz is a little older, nothing wrong with that, and of great stature. Okay, he's God. He's made it in society, but he's older. He's wiser.
The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness.
What kindness? What kindness did Ruth offer?
She offered herself as his wife.
Awesome. This younger woman says, I pick you. And how does he feel? Woo! This is really cool. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. Happily ever after, right? Don't, did you read it? Don't read it. It sounds like it's a beautiful ending. God has taken this woman from not looking good all the way through to a successful marriage to the rich guy. Life is good. God has answered everything. Woo!
Well, let's see, that's what happened. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. That's really cool. That's a statement. Although it is true that I am near of kin,
There is a kinsman redeemer nearer than I.
what do you think's going through her mind now?
Uh-oh.
I've
played the card. I said, I want the kinsman redeemer to be responsible. Oh, it's probably that mean, nasty, and all of a sudden those dreams that God has been so good to me come crashing down. Oh God, why did you bring me this far? Just to put me in peril again. Ever been there? And he says, stay here for the rest of the night. And in the morning, if he wants to redeem, good, let him redeem. But if he's not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. So he says, hey, we can't go forward. I have a responsibility. I've got to approach this other fellow, but we should resolve it pretty quickly. So she lay at his feet until morning. Probably a fitful evening for her. But got up before anyone could recognize, and he said, don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor. He also said, bring me your shawl. No matter what, bring me your shawl you are wearing and hold it out. When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then he went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, how'd it go with my daughter? Then she told her everything Boaz had done for her and added, and he also gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then Naomi said, wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens. Let's not do anything until we see how this works out. For the man will not rest until the matter is settled today. Mom knows that he's going to work it out one way or another. In all of this, how did Ruth carry herself? How did Ruth act? Do we see that when she hits a bad spot, she goes, I'm done. I'm not going to give you my best anymore. Ma, this is nuts. Do we see that? What do we see instead? Every time something happens, she works hard. And it's not just physical work, it's spiritual. She goes, I am committed. Scripture says when you do something, do it as if to the Lord. That's an incentive. Only do it when it really feels good. Only do it when there's immediate reward. He says, I'm always watching. I'm always taking care of you. So when you're doing something, when I put you in a circumstance, no matter what you think, get it wrong. Chapter 4. Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat there. When the kinsman redeemer he had mentioned came along, there's my cousin, Boaz said, hey, come over here, my friend, and sit down. So he went over and sat down. Oh, hi, how are you? Good to see you. What's up? Boaz also took 10 of the elders of the town and said, sit here. He's preparing. If you have a business transaction and it's witnessed by 10 elders, you're in. Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, sit here, and they did so. Then he said to the kinsman redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from Moab, oh yeah, I heard about that. She is selling the piece of land that belonged to her brother Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here, and in the presence of the elders of my people. Did he have to share this? Why didn't he just keep it on the QT? Mary and Ruth, win-win. Right? Ever done that? Ever jumped ahead of God and said, I got a better idea? He's following the rules. He's trusting God. God said, this is how you do it. A little anticipation, a little excitement. She's nervous, he's nervous, but he's doing the right thing. And he says to his cousin, hey, she's back. She needs to sell this. You're the next in line. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it. Interesting. He's saying it really needs to be done for the best of Naomi, so I want you to buy it. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not, tell me. So I will know, for no one has the right to do it except you. You've got first right of refusal. You're the guy, and I am next in line. Drum roll. Oh, I will redeem it, he said. Oh. Uh-oh. Then Boaz said, oh, by the way, on the day you buy the land from Naomi and from Ruth the Moabitess, you acquire the dead man's widow in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. Well, I didn't mind the idea of buying the property, giving her the money, that's nice, but it's right, shoot, I'll need to marry her, have children with her, but wait a minute, then the offspring will have the property when I die. I won't get anything out of this. I'll just help them. He said, after this, the kinsman redeemer said, then I cannot do it, because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it. Interesting twist. Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to another. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. Right? Do we have a deal? Not until you give me your sandal. And either they gave it, they threw it, they tossed it, they waved it, but it was a signal to the 10 witnesses, I agree. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I also have acquired Ruth, the Moabitess, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among the family or from the town records. Today you are witnesses. Then the elders and all those at the gate said, yep, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah. This is a significant statement. Remember Ruth's background? She's a Moabitess, not, whoa, a foreigner. And they have said what? We want you to be blessed. How much? Like these two women that were significant in our history. Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you have standing in the path and be famous in Bethlehem, I like that, through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman. May your family be like that of Perez and Tamar, born to Judah. Not only was Ruth an example of the right way to behave, the right way to reflect God's love, and God chose her to witness to the Israelites. One of the other statements that jumps out, actions that jump out, in the Old Testament, God has said, you're my people, I love you, to the Jews. Right? They get everything, right? Everybody else gets probably not much until Christ came along and he said, I am now going to give my gift of salvation from the Jews to whom? The Gentiles. Ruth is a Gentile. I believe this is a
beautiful review, statement that says, oh, by the way, I have a plan coming, and I'm going to put it in the book, I'm going to share it with others, but oh, by the way, redemption is coming for more, which is the Jews, the Gentiles as well. The other last significant event is the genealogy, the consequences of this marriage. So Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. Then he went to her and the Lord enabled her to conceive. God is in control. And she gave birth to a son. The woman said to Naomi, praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a kinsman redeemer. Who is our kinsman redeemer? Christ. May he become famous throughout Israel, talking about the Son. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. Your daughter-in-law who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons has given him her. The genealogy. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of this child was named Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse. And Jesse was the father of, and David is how many lines away from Christ? This marriage between a foreigner, a despised foreigner, and a believer resulted in the lineage to Christ. Is that not cool? So again, our whole purpose was to examine ourselves. What experience do we have? Experience isn't that we do things, it's our experience with God. How many times have we been in a spot where we were dependent upon God, that we came through, did we grow from it? He wants us to grab that and go, look how important you are, so that you may serve my kingdom through your local church. And that's what we've been studying on Tuesday nights, your gift. Your spiritual gift. This is a way to get you excited about it and go, oh, look at that. Every day I live an opportunity to get closer to God. For what purpose? So I can be more excited and enthusiastic. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for sharing. You have a plan from eternity, and you've laid it out for us to see, to witness, to read. But you make it personal. You put it in such a way that we can identify it and say, yes, I have been as desperate as that person. I have been as lost as that person. I have pushed you away. I have gone from lows to highs and highs to lows. And yet throughout all of it, Father, you say, look, I am faithful. I am true. Trust me. Love me. Because I have given everything to you. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for sticking around. Oh my gosh.